It was supposed to be a quiet month. Just me, my books, my plants, and the soft silence of an empty house. That was the life I'd settled into. Calm, predictable, untouched. After my last heartbreak, I promised myself never again. Never again would I open the door to someone who could leave. But promises, they don't always survive temptation. It started on a rainy Wednesday. Denise, my closest friend and longtime roommate, had just flown to Europe for an art residency. Before leaving, she asked me for a favor. Let her son, Adrian, stay at my place until his apartment was ready. He was 23, kind, polite, and too young to make me nervous. At least, that's what I told myself. I live in Atlanta, in a quiet tree-lined neighborhood where the houses lean into each other like old friends. My days were routine. Morning tea, jazz humming low from the speakers. Work, a walk through my garden, novels at night. My solitude had become a comfort I didn't want to disturb. But then, the knock came. I opened the door, and there he stood. Adrian. A duffel bag slung over his shoulder, rain dripping from his hair, and a smile that somehow felt too warm for such a stormy night. "Hey, Miss Melanie," he said softly. His voice carried that respectful tone he always had, but his eyes lingered on me. "You're not intruding," I told him, though the words felt heavier in my throat than I expected. "Just haven't had a man in this house for a while." He grinned faintly. "Then I'll tread carefully." That first night, he cooked garlic butter salmon. The kitchen, usually sterile and silent, felt alive as he moved through it. He laughed easily, told me about his college days, and listened when I spoke. And when the evening slipped into night, I realized hours had passed without me noticing. When I went to bed, I paused outside my room, listening to him settle into the guest room down the hall. His laugh still echoed faintly, soft and deep, trailing into my sleep. And though I climbed into bed alone, I didn't feel lonely. For the first time in years, I didn't feel lonely. The days that followed blurred into something new. Something I hadn't planned for. We woke around the same time. Most mornings, I'd find him in the kitchen before me, shirtless, stirring coffee or flipping pancakes, humming along to a song only he seemed to hear. He'd look up, smile, and say, "Morning," with that lazy voice that always made me feel younger than I was. I told myself it was harmless. Just a boy filling space in an empty house. But it wasn't just that. It was how his leg brushed against mine when we watched late-night movies on the couch. It was the way his laughter seemed to fill cracks in the walls of my silence. It was how he moved closer without asking, and how I never pulled away. One night, the power went out. Thunder rolled, lightning flashed, and the whole house sank into shadow. I lit candles, the flickering glow painting the walls with golden light. I sat in the living room wrapped in a blanket when he walked in, holding a flashlight. "Power's out again," he said with a smirk. "Mind if I join you?" I should have said no. I should have told him to go back to his room. But I didn't. He sat across from me at first, but soon the space between us dissolved. We talked about everything. His music, his dreams, the loneliness I thought I'd hidden so well. And when I shivered beneath my blanket, he didn't ask. He just draped his hoodie over my shoulders and whispered, "I like seeing you warm." The silence that followed was heavy, charged. I turned to place my book aside, and as I leaned forward, my robe slipped off one shoulder. Not intentionally. Not seductively, just naturally. But when I looked back at him, his eyes weren't looking away. They lingered, tracing the curve of my shoulder like it meant something. Like I meant something. "You're beautiful," he whispered. And something inside me broke. Not in pain, but in release. Years of hiding, of protecting myself, of pretending I didn't need closeness. They cracked wide open in the dim light of that storm. I didn't plan what happened next. I didn't even think. I leaned in and kissed him. At first it was soft, tentative, a question neither of us had dared ask. But then he kissed me back, and the answer became undeniable. The kiss deepened, slow but certain, filled with unspoken longing. His hands cupped my face as though it was something sacred. My fingers tangled in his shirt, grounding me, pulling me closer. When we finally pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine. We were both breathless, trembling, caught between fear and desire. "I didn't come here for this," he whispered. "I know," I replied, my voice shaking. "But maybe we both needed it." That night, he stayed. Not in my bed, not yet. But beside me, under the storm's roar, with his arm around me, fully clothed, holding me like I was something fragile and irreplaceable. I didn't fall asleep alone. I didn't wake up alone. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt alive. The morning after that storm, something was different. We didn't talk about the kiss. We didn't talk about how he held me through the night. But the air between us shifted. Every glance lingered longer. Every brush of his hand carried weight. When I walked into the kitchen in my robe, he was already there, shirtless as always, brewing coffee. But this time, when he handed me my mug, his fingers didn't let go right away. His thumb grazed mine. And that simple touch made my breath catch. We moved around each other like two people orbiting the same secret. Close enough to burn, but too scared to say the truth aloud. Until one night. I was folding laundry in my room when he walked in, holding 2 mugs of tea. Without asking, he sat on the edge of my bed, watching me. His gaze wasn't casual anymore. It was deliberate. "You always do everything alone," he said softly. "That's how I'm used to it," I whispered. "You shouldn't have to be." I froze, towel in hand, his words cutting deeper than I expected. When I looked up, his eyes were different. No longer the eyes of a boy passing time under my roof. They were the eyes of a man, waiting for permission. And I gave it. When our fingers brushed over the tea, I didn't pull away. I held his gaze. I let the silence answer for me. And then, like it had always been inevitable, he leaned in. This kiss wasn't tentative. It was hungry, aching, filled with everything we'd been holding back. His hands pulled me closer, mine tangled in his hair, and suddenly the years between us didn't matter. Age didn't matter. Nothing mattered but the way he made me feel. Seen, wanted, alive. That night, I didn't stop him. I didn't push him away. He undressed me slowly, carefully, like every piece of me was something precious. His lips traced over my skin, worshipping instead of rushing, touching every place I thought I'd grown numb. And when we finally gave in to each other, it wasn't reckless. It wasn't forbidden. It was slow, tender, sacred. Our bodies moved like they already knew each other. Every kiss deliberate. Every touch deliberate. Every breath shared like it meant everything. Afterward, he didn't roll away. He didn't leave the bed. He wrapped his arms around me and whispered, "I don't want this to end." I cried, not out of shame, but because for once, I didn't feel alone in my own life. The days that followed blurred into a rhythm that felt dangerously close to love. He wasn't just a guest in my house anymore. He fixed the broken screen door, did the dishes without asking, took candid photos of me when I wasn't looking and told me I was beautiful even in my flaws. And I believed him. But reality has a way of shattering fragile dreams. One Saturday morning, his mother, my best friend, called. She was coming home early. My stomach dropped. The little world we had built, fragile and warm, trembled under the weight of reality. That evening, I told him he needed to move back to his new place. Just for a while, I said, pretending it was temporary. He didn't argue. He just looked at me with eyes full of hurt. "You're scared," he whispered. "And maybe I should be too. But I'm not. Because I've never wanted something this real before." And then, he left. The silence that followed was unbearable. My house, once filled with laughter and the scent of his cologne, felt hollow again. Nights dragged. Days blurred. I told myself I'd done the right thing, that it was safer this way. But every night, I lay in bed leaving space for him beside me. Until one night, weeks later, there was a knock at the door. I opened it, and there he was. Adrian. His eyes were nervous, his hands trembling, but his voice steady. "I don't care what people think," he said. "I care how I feel when I'm with you. And I've never felt more alive than when I'm in your arms." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I just reached for him, pulled him inside, and kissed him like I'd been starving for him all along. This time, we didn't stumble into love. We walked toward it. I always thought love was supposed to come in my 20s, neat and perfect, with a ring and a house and a family. But sometimes, love shows up late. Sometimes it comes disguised as something forbidden. And sometimes it walks into your house with a duffel bag and changes everything you thought you knew about your own heart. Adrian wasn't supposed to be mine. But he was. And in the end, that was all that mattered. If you've ever loved someone you weren't supposed to, if you've ever felt that pull between fear and desire, tell me in the comments. Do you believe age defines who we're allowed to love, or is it the connection that matters most? If this story made your heart race, give it a like, share it with someone who believes in forbidden love, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more stories that blur the lines between danger and desire. Because sometimes, the most unforgettable loves are the ones we never saw coming.